arranging the artificial teeth, and at the end of this stage, the teeth must be clean and the wax around them must be smooth. Now, we have to verify our setting. We have to check the jaw relations and check the teeth and other criteria inside the patient mouth. Therefore, we have to be able to remove the setup from the cast. So at the clinic, we can put it inside the patient mouth and to check the jaw relations registered on the articulator, and to check the arrangement of teeth, to check the phonetics, and this is called the try-in stage. It's a very important clinical step which will be explained to you during the lectures. Now, after we have completed a successful try-in inside the patient mouth, we put back the trial denture on the models and we start the final waxing up. Now the trial denture must have the initial waxing up, as I mentioned, the smooth surface of the wax and the clean teeth. Then after we finish the or completed the try-in stage in the clinic, we proceed to the final waxing up of the trial denture on the articulator. Now the first step in waxing up the trial denture is to close the articulator at the centering relation. These centering stops must be closed, so there is no movement of the articulator except opening and closing. We check the zero line of the incisal pin and the touch with the incisal guidance table. Now after that, the next step is to seal the trial denture to the cast. Now we use the base plate wax to achieve this sealing. We just melt piece of wax and fill the sulcus with the wax, so the record bases will be securely attached to the master cast. Now, most of you already sealed their trial dentures to the cast, so you don't need to repeat this procedure. But if your trial denture is separated from the cast, you have to seal it by adding wax to the sulcus. Now we have finished the upper, and we also seal the lower cast as well. As you see, we use hot wax to seal the sulcus all around. Now we have the lingual sulcus. We try to keep the wax just around the base plate, record base. Now the models and the income bases are sealed together. We are going to proceed now to the waxing up of the trial denture. Now the waxing up is the process of carving the denture base to simulate the contour of the natural tissues which are being replaced by the denture. It is a sort of decorating the trial denture to the final shape. Now, you can use a study model like this one to observe the contour of the surrounding tissues, so you can mimic the same appearance, or you can use study models like this one where you have the anatomical landmarks clear, so you can do something similar. Now, the development of the polished surface is very important. The polished surface has a very important functions. It improves tissue tolerance, the tissue surrounding the denture, and it improves denture stability. It improves denture retention by achieving muscular balance. Also, it is very important for denture appearance and subsequently patient acceptance, improving phonetics of the patient. Now, the first step in achieving the proper waxing up and festooning is by adding wax. We need to add a sufficient bulk of base plate wax to the denture base, which can then be carved to the proper contour. Now, the technique we are going to use is the drop-in wax. You can notice here I have melted wax. I'm going to add it to the while holding the articulator in the center relation. So this will prevent the teeth from movement and changing the articulation between the teeth. Now, as you see here, I'm adding molten wax. I already prepared some pieces of wax, and you can see here when I put the piece of wax in the sponge side. Please show me here. Please. You melt the wax and then add the molten wax to the denture base plate and wait a few seconds until the wax becomes cold enough, and you take another piece of wax and continue adding. You have to add little by little, so the wax will stay in its place. Now, this is the technique we are going to use. Now, the added wax will extend from the gingival third of the teeth to the borders of the record base to the area of the cast. Now we added here sufficient amount of wax. You can increase the amount of wax to the area as much as you need. Now I'm going to add wax to the lower denture from the gingival third to the borders of the denture. And as you notice, I'm trying not to cover the teeth and keep the wax around the teeth, and wait and give time for the wax to become cold and hard. And here I'm going to add more wax at this area. Now I'm adding to the labial and buccal surfaces. Now this technique will prevent any voids in the wax during the addition of wax, and you guarantee a coherent thickness of wax. Now you can adapt a sheet of wax to the labial surface, but sometimes the wax will separate when it becomes layers, but this technique will prevent the separation during carving. Now, as you see here, I'm adding to the labial surface of the lower teeth. You can prepare the pieces of wax as much as you need. And here I'm adding wax to the buccal surface of the lower. And you can notice that I'm putting the wax at the gingival third of the teeth. Without any voids, and we have to fill the interdental spaces so we can carve the interdental papilla. Now we have completed the addition of wax to the labial surfaces. Now we proceed to the lingual side. Here we add wax to the lingual side. All what we need is a wax knife and pieces of wax, base plate wax, so to fill the spaces with the wax. And give time to the wax to cool, to become cool. You have to cover the gingival third of the teeth with the wax. So you keep adding the wax until you feel that you have sufficient bulk of wax. Now to the palate, the palatal area, we can adapt a sheet of wax to the palatal side. It must be clean at the beginning. It must be clean from any previous wax collected in the area during the arrangement of teeth. You have to expose the record base. Then we can adapt a piece of wax, base plate wax, to the area, as if you are adapting the record base. And you can contour it. And cut the edges here. Now you can add wax at the gingival third of the teeth to become joined with the piece of wax you adapted to the palate. I am here going to cover the gingival third of the teeth with the wax. And here in the anterior region as well. So this is the first stage of the final waxing up, the addition stage, where we add the wax to cover the record base from the gingival third to the borders of the cast. As you see here, so we have completed the stage of adding the bulk of wax needed, and we have to check the occlusion every now and then to make sure that the teeth did not move while adding the wax to the base of the denture. Now we are going to proceed to the next step in the waxing up. Second step after adding the wax is to create a ledge around the teeth. Using a sharp instrument, we cut the wax around the teeth, creating a ledge. As you can see here, we expose the teeth and preserve the interdental papilla between the teeth. The canine will be longer, so we expose a higher ledge, and here the lateral is shorter, the central is longer, so we create this ledge as well in the lower teeth. Now we clean the wax from the teeth. Then we reduce the ledge to create the gingival contour around the teeth, preserving the interdental papilla. And we clean the wax from around the teeth. And by that we created a sulcus all around the teeth. It's gingival sulcus, and it is the artistic part of the gingiva. Now after that we are going to create the root bulges around the teeth. We draw triangles in this form. These triangles coincides with the area of the root, and here in the upper triangles around the roots. The triangle over the canine will be higher as the root of the canine is longer, and around the lateral it is shorter. Now we carve the wax between the triangles. We remove the wax from between the triangles and keep the wax in the area of the triangles, and this will create a prominence of the roots, as you can see, and this is important to distract the light and prevent the reflection of the light in straight direction, so the teeth will, or the denture base, will not look artificial. We clean the wax. You can use a piece of gauze to clean the wax. You can use the wax knife for this purpose. You can notice that the light will not be reflected in straight direction to the eye, and this light distraction is very important to give the denture base the natural looking. Now, for the palatal aspect, you can remove the cast from the articulator to facilitate the process and make it easier to carve the palatal portion. The palate, as we mentioned, should be smooth. The thickness of the palate should be 2 millimeters thick. We have 1 millimeter thickness of the record base and 1 millimeter thickness of the added wax, the sheet of wax we added to the palate. Now for the gingival part, we need to create the ledge as we did in the labial surface around the teeth, and keep the teeth covered with wax so they will be secured to the denture base. Now this is the ledge around the teeth. You can use the Licron carver as it has sharp tip, so you can control the movement of the instrument in a better way. Now after we created the ledge, we bevel it a little bit and we clean the wax from the palatal surface. The palate will be ready by this. Now, for the lingual aspect of in the lower denture, here, as you can see, we need the direction of the wax to be straight from the gingival third of the teeth to the borders of the denture, with a slight concavity to accommodate the tongue movement. Slight concavity. We remove this excess wax, and the amount of wax I added is sufficient enough, so we just clean the wax here and make it smooth. And you can see here the wax is straight from the edge of the teeth to the borders of the trial denture. Now we can use the round end of the Licron carver to clean the wax from the teeth and expose the cingulum of the teeth in this area. So the lingual surface will become ready now. We clean the wax. As you can see that we have smooth lingual surface. Now we brought back the upper cast and close the teeth again together, and we've checked the centric occlusion. We can use wax solvent to remove the scratches from the surface of the wax and to get a smooth surface for the wax. By that we have finished the waxing up of the denture. Hopefully you will find it easy. Thank you.